So I've just done a video where I talk about, in my opinion, the most naturally talented, most well-rounded fighter of our generation, Roy Jones Jr. I wanted to look at a fighter and just talk about him for a few minutes. Now, I'm not saying he's similar to Roy Jones Jr. I'm not saying he's got the same potential and upside as Roy Jones Jr. But I wanted to talk about a fighter who I view as really, really complete, and who I view as having the potential to be a very dominant champion over years to come. Now, a lot of my viewers obviously are hardcore boxing fans, and as a result they may view this as a somewhat cowardly pick, bearing in mind that this individual already has a title strapped around his waist. But what I would say is that this guy is yet to be in a major fight. This guy is largely unknown amongst the casual boxing community, and this guy really is still developing. Now, bizarrely, despite the fact that I'm about to do a video praising him, there's a high chance I'm going to mispronounce his name, because I've heard two pronunciations. The first one is Demetrius Andrade. I've also heard Demetrius Andrade, but we'll go with Demetrius Andrade. I've heard different commentators calling him different things, so apologies, Mr. Andrade or Mr. Andrade, if you're watching. I know you're a big fan of the channel. But this guy, he's a real serious player. Real serious player. He's 6'1", fighting in the 154-pound division. He's 26 years old. So I think realistically we will see him fighting at 160 at some point in the future. And there's big fights for him, both at 154 and 160. This is a guy who I think could be competitive with the likes of Canelo Alvarez, competitive with the likes of Miguel Cotto. Hell, I'd even like to see him fight Gennady Golovkin. I think stylistically that would make for an entertaining matchup. Now, obviously I've been aware of this guy for quite some time, but recently in the UK we had a fight between Brian Rose and Carson Jones in the light middleweight division. Now, Brian Rose previously fought Andrade, so I went back and re-watched that fight as part of my research into the Brian Rose-Carson Jones fight. And I remember watching it at the time and being impressed by Andrade. But I must say, in hindsight, that performance is really, really spectacular. Now, let's qualify this first and foremost. Brian Rose is no world beater. Brian Rose has major frailties to his game. Brian Rose clearly is slightly glass-jawed. Brian Rose clearly doesn't pack the biggest punch out there. And apart from anything else, Brian Rose is not, a world-class operator. But what he is a solid technician, a solid boxer, and a solid European-level guy. With that in mind, we'd expect Andrade to beat him. But the level of dominance in the fight surprised me. It really did. Andrade, for those who haven't seen him, and I'd recommend checking him out, he's a southpaw. As I say, 6'1", he's quite a rangy guy. He's light on his feet, dances around the ring a bit. And straight away in that fight, you can see him pumping an accurate and a stiff jab. He almost looks for gaps with his jab, and the second Brian Rose's guard dropped, it snapped out instantaneously, real quick. What Andrade does from that southpaw jab is work really, really quickly in terms of building combinations. And working off that jab, he throws punches in bunches. Now, what I like about Andrade is he seems to have quite a complete range of punching. It's not just long jab, long cross. I mean, I guess in many ways those are his most effective weapons, is the long jab and a long cross. But what we also see is really effective work to the body. Often see him dropping down a level, throwing in a really accurate hook to his level. And I think accuracy is a theme with Demetrius Andrade. Very, very rare you see him throwing in accurate shots, wasting energy. He really is a guy focused on end product. And as a result, you see nice, quick combinations. The guy's got hand speed. He can also mix it up quite a bit. Often in that Rose fight, we saw him leading with a backhand punch. We also see him making big effect of like a short uppercut on the inside. Just because he's tall, just because he's rangy, he can still work with shorter punches. As I say, we often see a short hook dropping to the body, both often from his front hand. But we also see a lovely front hand uppercut that dissects the guard of Brian Rose. And if you watch just before the stoppage of that fight, which ends in 7th round TKO, you see Andrade landing two really, really nice sort of short uppercuts that cut through the Rose guard and seemed to almost catch him by surprise. So this guy, he's a rangy, tall guy with scope to further develop. He's big for the weight. He can move. He's a slick southpaw. Full range of punching, inside, outside, combinations, bodywork. Really, really decent. Now, my guess is he's not going to turn into a Gennady Golovkin style puncher, but he also carries real power. I don't think he's powerful to the same extent as Golovkin or Lemieux, but he's a guy who combines sort of, let's say, 8 out of 10 power with 9 out of 10 boxing capability. He's a very tricky guy, a very tall guy. He's an Olympian, so solid amateur pedigree, and he's a southpaw. Tricky southpaw, tall, rangy, athletic. He's ticking a lot of the boxes, and he can whack as well. Defensively, Brian Rose that night didn't cause him enough questions to cause problems. And I understand some critics say that Andrade can be hit, but I mean, this is fighting. And what I would say is, with his southpaw stance, he's kind of got that shoulder roll style defence to an extent, and because he's so rangy and he can get out of range, in that fight, defensively, he looks solid. Obviously, we'll see when he faces sterner tests. I understand recently there's been some inactivity. I understand he's tried to get in fights with the Charlo brothers and Canelo that, for one reason or another, haven't materialised. But I think this guy's got a really high upside, either at 154 or 160. And I look forward to him in some serious fights. He's only a young guy, still 26, still got a lot of scope for development and progression. And I could really see him being a dominant champion for quite some time. At 154, there's 1 or 2 fighters who are also quite slick boxers. You've got the likes of Issei Smith, Erislandy Lara, Austin Trout. Of those, Erislandy Lara seems to be the pick of them at the minute. But I think what Andrade brings to the table, in my opinion, is a bigger frame, first and foremost. Lara, he looked very small in his last fight against Issei Smith. For me, he looked like more of a welterweight than a light middleweight. I don't think Andrade's got that same problem. I think Andrade may well hit harder, and I don't sense the low. There's obviously volume issues and output issues with Lara. I don't sense the same issues necessarily with Andrade. So I really like this guy. I think he's quite a complete fighter. I think he's going to be a champion for many years to come. But I'm conscious that whilst I've seen a few of his fights, I haven't exactly followed him since day one. So if anyone has, I'd be interested to hear your thoughts. Am I overanalyzing him? Am I rating him higher than he actually should be rated? Do let me know your thoughts. Do let me know who you like in terms of up and comers. Thanks for watching.